Welcome back to another episode of Books and Beers. I'm your host, Falc. So this episode is a little different than we planned out. It was supposed to be a joint review with Barney and myself since I was in Boston this weekend. However, after 2 days of visiting, I lost my voice and we couldn't record. I was in Boston for Barney's birthday and I actually got him a book. I got him Think and Grow Rich. A lot of people describe this to be the OG self-help book, so that's one of the reasons I got it. And I also have it for myself and I haven't read it. But we're probably going to read it both soon. So if you want to join us, definitely be sure to get it. Like I said, I lost my voice. I haven't gotten it fully back. I haven't even shaved yet. But Boston was a lot of fun. I met a lot of fans. And even though we were unable to sit down and do the joint review, I was able to record a little bit around the city. So here's a brief recap of that. So that was Boston. Hopefully next time I'm there we can record and I can speak a little less and keep my voice. Now, as far as today's review, we have the Communist Manifesto, written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. And before we get started with the review, I just want to put a picture of what I looked like when I was reading it, which is a little similar to the picture that they have for Karl Marx, which was the main author of the book, if you can call it a book. So when I started reading this book, a lot of my friends became very skeptic. They will ask me, hey, why are you reading that? That book is not good. Communism is bad. And while I did understand that, that wasn't the reason why I was reading it. The reason why I was reading it was because this is an amazing economics and political book. To this day, the Communist Manifesto is considered the most well-known pamphlet all around the world. Even if you agree with communism or not, it is an amazing way to see how it's all started. In summary, the book is separated into 4 parts. The first part talks about the communist theory and the separation between the working class and the people that own the land. The second part talks about the working class and people that already knew communism. And in that second part is one of the most important parts of the book because they talk about the most important fact about communism. The author explains that only after you abolish completely private property, you will actually get rid of classes and all become the same class. The third part talks about socialism versus communism, something that is interesting because there's a lot of overlap between the two. And the fourth part, it is communism versus different political parties. Now, I like the reason why I read it. I wanted to get a little more insight into an economic and political ideology, and I got it. However, I didn't get the understanding that I wanted from the book. The issue with communism, at least in my eyes, was that they're trying to control too many things. There's another book that I hope to review in the future called Naked Economics. And in that book, they explain it. That the reason was that in countries that they've tried to apply communism, like the Soviet Union, they were trying to control too many things. They're trying to control all the way from how many bar soaps were produced in a factory to how many students can study electrical engineering in a university in Moscow. At a certain point, the government or whoever's in charge becomes too overwhelmed because they just can't control anything. That insight I didn't necessarily get to the book, because the book is reading in a very old language and it doesn't have the explanations that we kind of see in books nowadays. That is the reason why, at least this specific version of the Communist Manifesto, I'm going to read it in the do not read category. As far as the book, I gave it a 2.4. Many of you might say that it's because English is not my first language, and it's probably right, but I didn't necessarily like this explanation. I'll probably find one that I like more in the future. One thing that I did like a lot was the introduction, because it explains a little bit how the Communist Manifesto came into being, how communism was already appearing in the 1800s, and how this was drafted. And one thing that I liked a lot was that Karl Marx, the author of the book, which is a very well-known philosopher, was not the way it appears in this picture with the huge beard and the white hairs at the time that he wrote it. He was in his late 20s. Maybe I'll find a picture and I'll put it here because he was in his late 20s. Now, Karl Marx, the author of the book, was born in Germany. So I'm actually going to be reviewing today a German beer. Erdinger Dunkel. Definitely not pronounced the correct way. So let's give it a try. And we're gonna use a Stein because Steins are also German. This looks like a Coke. So the 3 steps that I'm gonna start following when reviewing a beer is, first, I'm gonna look at the color. This one's definitely very dark and you can see through. The second part is that I'm gonna smell it. Doesn't smell much different. And the third part is the tasting. So one interesting thing is that this has a 5.3 alcohol volume, but I don't feel the alcohol because it has a lot of malt, which feels like that drink that is just malt without alcohol. And it doesn't even taste like beer. Important reminder for everyone to drink responsibly when you're having a beer. Not my go-to. Too much malt. I like things that taste more like beer. This is a 2.8. 2.8, not my go-to. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Books and Beers. If you want to get the Communist Manifesto yourself, you can do so in the link below, even though I recommended it as do not read. But you can also check our description and see the link for a Goodreads account and the link to all the other books we've recommended in this channel. Be sure you also check out our Instagram. We have a lot of good content there and a lot of ways you can stay motivated to read more and find some new books. With that being said, make sure that you subscribe to the channel because we post every single Wednesday. And I'll see you next time.